We often think that anxiety comes from external circumstances, a stressful job, an unstable relationship, or an uncertain future. But in reality, anxiety does not originate from the outside world. It stems from how we perceive it. This means that no matter how difficult a situation may be, our mindset and reactions determine how we feel. Imagine someone about to give an important presentation. If they keep thinking, what if I make a mistake? What if people laugh at me? Their anxiety will grow, placing an immense burden on their mind. But if they shift their perspective to, I've prepared well, this is an opportunity to share my ideas. Even if I make mistakes, I can continue and improve. Then their stress will decrease significantly. The issue is not the presentation itself, but how the person interprets it in their mind. Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus emphasize that while we cannot control the external world, we have full control over how we respond to it. They taught that if we spend too much time worrying about things beyond our control, we will be trapped in a cycle of anxiety. However, if we focus on what we can change, our thoughts, attitudes, and actions, we can find peace even in the most difficult situations. So how can we manage anxiety? First, we must recognize that it is merely a product of the mind. When a negative thought arises, instead of letting it take over, ask yourself, is this really as bad as I think? Or, what can I do right now to improve the situation? By asking the right questions, we can find solutions instead of remaining stuck in worry. Inner peace does not come from everything being perfect, but from our ability to accept and adjust our perspective. When we understand that anxiety does not come from the outside world, but from within our own perception, we can actively remove it, overcome our fears, and live a lighter, more fulfilling life. We cannot control the world, but we can control how we respond to it. Life is full of uncertainties, challenges, and events beyond our control. However, instead of letting anxiety take over, we can learn to perceive things differently. When we realize that all worries are merely products of our minds, we can begin to change our approach to difficulties. Rather than being consumed by negative thoughts, take a moment to ask yourself, is this really as bad as I think? Most of the time, we exaggerate problems in our minds, making them seem far more frightening than they actually are. But if we calmly assess the situation, we often find that things are not as serious as we initially believed. Another helpful question to shift our perspective is, will this still matter a year from now? Many of our worries are temporary, yet we spend an excessive amount of time and energy dwelling on them. Looking at the bigger picture helps us put problems into perspective and reduces unnecessary stress. Most importantly, instead of getting lost in worry, ask yourself, what can I do right now to improve the situation? Taking action is always the best way to break free from anxiety. Even a small step can restore a sense of control and bring back a feeling of calm.
Changing our perception, we can face life with greater resilience, refusing to let anxiety dominate us. Instead, we can focus on what we can change and take meaningful steps toward a more balanced and peaceful mind. When we pause and observe our own thoughts instead of being swept away by them, we begin to reclaim our power of choice. Too often, we allow our minds to run unchecked, carrying us into spirals of worry, fear, and doubt. But the moment we become aware of our thoughts, we gain the ability to decide how we respond. We can choose calmness over anxiety. Instead of reacting instinctively to stress, we can take a step back, breathe, and remind ourselves that we are in control. Worry does not solve problems. Action does. By choosing a state of inner peace, we allow ourselves to think more clearly and respond to challenges with wisdom rather than fear. We can choose action over paralysis. Fear often convinces us to remain stuck, imagining worst-case scenarios rather than facing reality. But action, even a small step, dissolves fear. When we focus on what we can do rather than what might go wrong, we shift from helplessness to empowerment. We can choose to live fully rather than be imprisoned by our own imagined limitations. Many of our fears exist only in our minds, created by negative thought patterns and assumptions. But when we step outside of these mental barriers, we realize that life is not as terrifying as we believed. Each moment is an opportunity to experience, to grow, and to embrace life with openness and courage. By observing our thoughts instead of being controlled by them, we take ownership of our inner world. And in that space of awareness, we find the freedom to choose a life of peace, purpose, and fulfillment. Remember, peace does not come from controlling the world, but from mastering your own mind. And that is something anyone can do, starting right now.